All right, so we're in economics class. And so economics, we're going to today talk about what it is, and then hopefully you'll know what my funny little meme guy is about here by the time you watch through this. So he says, skip economics class, the opportunity cost is just too high. So I think that most that you're going to find not at least, some of y'all have to work in this and that. It can't be at live at 9 to 9:45, but you're going to find that the opportunity cost of not watching the live lessons at least is going to be very high in this class, right? Um, so I'm Mr. Carter. I did pick up, for those of y'all that were just coming from government, I did pick that class up at the very end, but I wasn't running it. I was just finishing it the way it was run, not running it the way I would run it. And so I'm trying to design this class to be more of fit with my educational theory and what I think we need to do. So I'm from the state of Georgia. I went to the University of Georgia. I studied history in my undergraduate degree. Social studies is my master's. I'm working on a PhD in history from Liberty University right now. Um, so I also teach math. So that kind of fits pretty well with economics because economics is kind of where math and social studies meet a bit. So that's me. I got 4 kids. We live in Powdersville in the upstate. It's my first year at SC Prep. I taught at Powdersville for the last number of years. Um, so yeah, we have a dog named Charlie, and he's cute. Um, and I like to do stuff with my church. I like to drink lots of coffee. I'll always have a coffee cup here. So there's that. I drink my coffee black. I drink a whole bunch of coffee. Um, I like Georgia football. I like Braves baseball. So that's kind of the things I do when I do have some fun. I like to work out. It's different stuff like that, right? So if y'all got more questions, put those in the intro little assignment, and I can come back and kind of answer some of those. So I'm going to do Tuesday, Thursday target time for this class. And the reason why is because I have on Monday, Wednesday, I have back-to-back social studies and math lives, and then I really with the 6th grade math class, they need a target time available every day. I think for most of you guys, me being available twice a week is enough. And if you need me some other time, you let me know. And I probably more than any teacher you're going to have, like I check my emails and stuff like that, even later in the night. I'm a night worker, so sometimes I'll be working on lesson plans at 9 o'clock at night or something. Okay, so no promises at 9 o'clock or night, but it's a good possibility that nights and weekends I do answer a lot of times. Right. Um, so you need to look at any graded assignments for feedback. All right, this class, unlike the if you just finished government, this one's going to be mostly a written class. Okay, so if you got errors on some of your writing, or you weren't thorough enough, or there was grammar or whatever, I'm going to grade it accordingly, give you feedback. Okay, make sure you're checking your Canvas inbox and your email every day. I will send out the text with the grade update and missing work on Mondays. That's supposed to be a school policy. I'm definitely going to do that. And then I'll also send you messages through the Canvas grade book if there's stuff that's missing, there's zeros, etc. Okay, so that's just the general. Um, let's see, what does that say? I have a. Sorry, Leah, I don't quite get what you're saying there. Type it again. So all right. So what we're going to do this week, the first couple of economic standards are examining how scarcity of time and resources. Um, okay, I got you. Necessitates decision making. Okay. And then the second one is use evidence to explain how various economic systems address the basic economic questions regarding distribution of resources. All right. I don't expect you to immediately be like, oh yeah, I know what that means. That's why I'm teaching it to you. Okay. So this is a class where a lot of the content does need to be taught to you because it doesn't just automatically make sense. Okay. It'll make sense after I explain it. All right. So today's goals are you understanding the expectations, grading assignments, etc. for this class, and understand that scarcity, the concepts of scarcity and opportunity costs, and be able to apply those to different situations. So we're gonna, when we talk about economics, there's a individual component like personal finance and economic decisions. There's businesses, there's communities, and all the way to nations. Okay, so we'll apply those in different sort of situations. All right. So here's what we got this week. All right. If you need to look at the weekly assignment list. All right. So today, other than the live lesson, there is a video with a few short questions that are going to be 20 points. So if you'll notice here, I have a weekly kind of classwork or minor grade assignment that will add up to 100 points. There's this one on today, and then 2 ed puzzles on Thursday on economic types and Venezuela and socialism. And those will not take super long. The one for today does require written questions. And just understand, I don't know what you're used to, but I expect you to do good work. Okay. So if you turn in some crap, then you can expect crap grades. Okay. That's just how it's going to be. And then I'm going to have a grade on the tutorial on Ed Minimum. The readings and the activities there are good. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to grade guided notes. Right. That is a complete waste of my time. Right. And so I put the link to the guided notes on there for you if you need those. But I'm not going to require them for you to do those, because I honestly think that's where you as a 10th, 11th, or 12th grader should be able to use these things and see, okay, do I need these? Do I not? Probably you're going to find that you do need them, but I'm not going to require you to turn them in because I don't want to waste my time grading them. Okay. And then the mastery quiz, I am going to get you to do that because I think that has some guarantee on the level of your understanding of the tutorial. Okay. So that's the kind of the daily work assignment. And then what's 100% different than if you just came out of government is that the quiz I'm going to give on Fridays, and this is where you're going to, sorry, this is too much text on one slide. All right. You're going to have to do well on the Ed Minimum and understand the content and comprehend what I'm talking about in class to do well on the quizzes on Friday. That's what I'm putting in the major category. Okay. And majors, if I'm not mistaken, are 60% in high school. And so, Ed Minimum module completion and doing a good job is going to be important. So like I only put one Ed Minimum this week. But one of the questions on Friday's quiz is requiring that you understand what's on there, because I wrote it in such a way that if you were a cheater and went on the internet, you couldn't figure out what the heck I'm talking about. Okay. And so you really have to have done it to even understand what I'm talking about on the quiz. So I'm designing my assessments to use all the material from the week and make it very difficult for cheating. Okay. I will type it in, I will report cheating, but I'm also writing the questions in such a way that a lot of them, or a lot of the value anyway, wouldn't be helped by cheating anyway. You've got to understand. All right. And then 2, know the examples and things I emphasize in the live lessons. One of the questions on the quiz for this Friday is based on something I'm discussing during live lesson this week that's not in the Edmonton module. And so if you are not watching this, at least, even if you couldn't come live and understanding what I'm talking about, you're not going to have that. Okay. So if you take notes during live lessons, and if you maybe consider using the guided notes, those are fine to use during quizzes. You can use that material, since I'm going to assess your ability to analyze things. But getting stuff off the internet outside of the minimum module and what I taught in class, that's cheating, and I will deal with that accordingly. Right. So you need to really make sure you study and understand all the material to do well in the class. Economics is not an easy class, and I'm not going to make it easier than it is. I'm going to try to make sure that I have helped you, given you the resources that you need, but it is my job to assess what you know on the South Carolina standards. Okay. And so that is what I'm going to do. I'll be there to help you, give you all you need, but you have to take some ownership of that yourself. Okay. All right. So off of the kind of weighty stuff there, and let's get into some content. So economics is the study of how people allocate scarce resources for production, distribution, and consumption, both individually and collectively. So Individually, they call that microeconomics, individual people, personal finance. And then collectively means as a whole. So groups, meaning businesses or even governments and nations. Okay. Now, within this definition, too, you have the idea of the scarce resources for production, like what goes into making stuff, right? Distribution is how you get stuff to where it needs to get to the people who want or need it. And then consumption refers to the consumer, meaning you or I, when we buy or use something, you consume it, you use it. Okay, so that's how that definition kind of breaks down, right? Now, there's a couple of terms I just wanted to make sure I overview for you here. The goods and services. Goods are the physical items that satisfy your demand. So, like stuff that you buy, right? Stuff that you get or use. And then services are activities performed by a person to satisfy the consumer's demand. So, the person who is putting the stuff on the shelf that you're going to go buy, or the person working the checkout, right? They're doing a service, whereas you could be producing a good or providing a service. Okay. So right now, for example, I'm providing a service, which is education. All right. So I work in a service job. Right. All right. So let's get into some basic economic concepts. All right. So scarcity is this: the problem that faces all of us is that our resources are limited and insufficient to fulfill people's wants. Another way of saying this is that our wants are unlimited, but our resources are limited. Okay. We want what we would want to do or be able to do or whatever or have. There's no limit to that, but we can't have everything. Right. So that's the concept of scarcity. There's not enough for everybody to have everything they want. Okay. So anytime there's something less of something than what people want, that's scarcity. So, for example, I have a scarcity of time, right? I have to figure out how I'm going to plan economics and math lessons for the week and take the class at Liberty, right? And grade all my work and contact all the parents and the kids and all that and spend time with my family and watch Georgia football and do stuff with my church, right? So I have to plan those things to allocate my resources effectively, right? Money, again, like, none of us have all the money in the world. So we have to make choices. If I spend money on this, I don't have it to spend on that. And so we have to think accordingly. Um, Land is scarce, right? There's not an unlimited amount of land. That's why land, at least where I'm at, costs a lot of money. And then natural resources. There's things like, you know, oil or water or, even rainfall in some places where it, there's not enough of it for what needs to happen. Okay. Um, so these can be considered, all of these things in terms of scarcity, individually, for businesses, and for nations and governments. Okay. So just give me a real quick feedback here. Some things that, you know, for you that are scarce for you, that you recognize that these things are scarce. Like, I'm scarce on this. So, Leah, I think you're saying you have two places that you probably would want to be at 9:30, right? So that would be one thing. Okay. Does anybody tell me some things that you are scarce for you? And then maybe some things that are scarce for nations, like money and natural resources. And I can give you some, but I'd rather kind of see how you're processing that also. So, like, one of my kids runs cross country, and so for her to get her work done, then sometimes she has to come back from cross country and finish up her work. So she might not have time to watch TV at night with the other kids in my family who don't run cross country, right? So that's a scarcity of resource, right? Or if you choose to go to Starbucks and buy a $6 Frappuccino, then maybe you're thinking, okay, do I have enough money to do this and get gas in my car, right? Any other ones that you can think of there? If I spend time with all my time with my friends, then my family's going to feel like I don't want to spend time with them, right? So there's all kinds of things. Even those are individual level things. Then on the national level, it's like, okay, if we spend our money on education, then more towards education, maybe less towards military, or vice versa, right? Those are all kind of things that have to be considered, right? Okay, so yeah, good, no? Time, money, yeah. All of us have a scarcity of time and money, right? Um, okay, so factors of production, right? These are another really important concepts that we're going to use the entire term here, okay? So resources are the things that are used to produce all goods and services. So normally we think of like natural resources, but there's natural resources, human resources, and capital resources. And you need all three of those in order to produce any good or service. So since all of those are scarce, the products made with them are also scarce. Okay, that's kind of, again, I'm getting through the basics of economics here. So natural resources are resources that come from nature. So everything from oil to trees and lumber, right? Sunlight, water, the crops that can be grown all come from nature and land and can be renewable or non-renewable. And that's not necessarily the point per se, because some things can be renewable resources but still be scarce in certain areas, right? For example, water is a renewable resource, but in the American West, there's a major shortage of water, right? And so they have to figure out how they're going to use their water so as they don't run out. Okay. Um, and whereas around where we're at, we don't really consider a real scarcity of water is not a huge problem for us. Although if you lived in an area where there was not been able to filter water, then you would have a scarcity of clean water, right? Human resources are the skills and knowledge of a worker, including the education and their training. So basically, when you invest in your human resources, or human capital is another word for that I put right below that. I probably should have put a little line under that right there. Improves the worker productivity as you learn training, skills, abilities, education. You can produce more goods and services, or more valuable goods and services per hour than the low skill workers can. So you invest in your human resources and their education and their training, et cetera, right? And they produce more, right? And generally speaking, workers with more skills and education are more valuable because they can do more or better goods and services. So, for example, me as a worker, the fact that I'm certified to teach math and social studies makes me somewhat of a valuable human resource, because if there's a need in one subject, I can go teach that other one too. Right. So that's actually for me the reason that I got hired in jobs over time, is because I could teach multiple subjects. Actually really helped me out. So that those are some concepts of human resources, and the kind of training that people do at work, that's a part of their human resources, right? The third one is capital resources, sometimes called capital goods. It's the stuff that's used to make other stuff. All right. One of the things I like to do when I teach economic theories is to use very simple words for things a lot of times. So the stuff that you use to make stuff out of, that's your capital resources or capital goods. So your machines, your tools, your buildings, you produce it in your factories, right? Those are all capital resources. And then from those three resources, these first three, you have kind of a fourth factor of production that is the entrepreneur, which is the person who takes a risk to start a business, right? Or a fancier way of saying it is the person who takes the three productive resources of land, labor, and capital, natural resources, your human resources, your capital resources, and makes stuff out of it. Okay. They take a risk, produce a service or good with those resources, and then sell that for a profit. Okay. And the risk part is important here in understanding, because just because you got an idea doesn't mean it's going to work or you're going to make money off of it. It could fail, you could lose money, right? And that happens frequently. For example, I know I saw a stat a few years ago that something like 90% of restaurants fail in the first 5 years or something like that. So again, factors of production here we have, looks like a kind of lumber kind of process. You got the wood, that's the land or the natural resources. The capital would be, in this case, the guy, the big machine that's pulling the stuff up, right? Also the place where you're, the machine you're using to stall it off, right? All that kind of stuff. The labor or human resources, the guys who are working that. And then the entrepreneur is the person who's, making something and selling it, right? That's kind of that part, right? Again, another way of looking at this: land, labor, effort that humans contribute, the capital, the stuff they use, and then the entrepreneurship. Okay. So that's land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, or natural resources, human resources, capital resources, and entrepreneurs. All right. All right. So that's the factors of production. All right. Now, I've got a quick little video here. You guys tell me if I think I shared my sound. I just think this video, these couple little videos do a great job of explaining it.
If you listen in on a microeconomics class, chances are you'll hear the word marginal thrown around a lot. In fact, thinking on the margin is one of the most important parts of basic economics. But what, you ask, does marginal mean? Economists will tell you that marginal means one more. So instead of saying the marginal cost of margarine, you could also say the cost of one more margarine. Since margarine is usually sold in units of 1 tub, we would be talking about the cost of one more tub of margarine. But let's say you have 3 tubs of margarine. Which one is the marginal margarine? Well, the answer is the next one. See, in thinking on the margin, economists are thinking about the cost or benefit of making a decision. In this case, buying a 4th tub of margarine, then a 5th tub, and so on. For reasons that belong in their own video, the marginal benefit tends to decrease as you go on, and the marginal cost tends to increase. If you graph the two together, you see there will eventually come a point when the marginal cost equals the marginal benefit. This is the point that economists are interested in. Anywhere past this point and the costs are greater than the benefit, so you're losing out. Anywhere before the point and you're not getting the greatest possible benefit and also losing out. This is why marginal thinking is so important. It allows economists to zoom in on specific decisions and tell how they should be made. Basically, economics tells us that we should keep buying margarine until its marginal cost equals its marginal benefit. Sounds tasty.
So with this too,
If you listen,
all right. So marginal cost is the change in the cost of production after producing one more unit, one more thing. And then the marginal benefit is the increase in benefit from producing one more of those things. Okay. The one more consumption of goods or services. So basically, when you're making or doing more of something, you decide if doing it more will create more than the next best opportunity. Okay. This may mean absolutely losing some of something, but it may mean that you enjoy something else compared to more of that same thing. Okay. Now, here's what you got to understand. This may mean a money cost and it may mean a time cost. Okay. Because remember, there's different things that are scarce, right? Your time, your effort, your relationships, your relationship time, all those things can be scarce, are scarce. And so you have to decide when to invest in this versus this. Okay. So, for example, all right, an example that I've seen is that I think is a good one to show what I'm talking about is studying for a test. So let's say that if somebody studies for the test, their grade is going to go up, right, by a certain number of points. So keep studying for more hours, and okay, your benefit is, you're getting benefit by studying, a lot of benefit from studying a little bit, still getting more and more, but it's costing you more and more, right? And so why the cost is going up is that maybe it's, making you give up on other things that you would be doing otherwise. Okay. So you spend your time studying and you're not doing something else. You're not spending time with friends or family. You're not working. You're not sleeping, whatever. Right. And so eventually the cost to you of doing more studying, it goes past the benefit that you're getting from that. That doesn't mean your grade wouldn't keep going up. Your grade might keep going up. It's only going to go up, say, 5 points here versus the cost for you of studying more makes it not worth it to you. Okay. And so, what the numbers are or in the cost benefit column, the key is that what we're looking at is you keep doing a thing until it's worth more to you to not do that thing. Now, the thing is that a lot of times our decision making is flawed, right? And we don't think through clearly what our values should be, and we need to adjust our values. However, when you decide to do or not do that thing, at that moment, you're deciding it costs me too much to do this work on time or whatever, right? So I'm not going to do it. You're thinking that the benefit is low and the cost is high. Maybe you're wrong, but that's the feeling decision that you're making at that point. And generally speaking, we make our decisions based on the cost in our mind versus the benefit of doing the thing. Okay. And so that is how we operate with our time and our money. Okay. again, we can change our values in terms of the cost and the perceived benefit, but it's about what we perceive or see it to be. Okay. Now, next concept is called opportunity cost, which is related to that. Okay. The opportunity cost is the value of the second best alternative. What is given up when choosing among alternatives? So, what you give up to do something else. So, example on this last one was you study more, maybe you're giving up watching something on Netflix. Okay. So, that would be if I stop studying, I'm going to do this. So, your opportunity cost of keeping studying would be not watching Netflix. Okay. That's what it's talking about here. Right. So one more here.
What is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost refers to the value a person could have received but passed up in pursuit of another option. So, if you were to wait in line for free ice cream, you actually give up the opportunity to do something else with your time, like working at a job or reading a book. So, that ice cream really isn't free. Economists even use the concept of opportunity cost to determine if people can benefit from trading with one another. Let's look at a simple example. Just two people, Bob and Ann, who produce just two goods, bananas and fish. Because of the concept of opportunity costs, Ann and Bob are worse off when they try to do everything themselves. Here's what Bob can do if he spends all of his time producing only one good. Bob can either gather 10 bananas or he can catch 10 fish. And Ann can either gather 10 bananas or catch 30 fish. Bob has to choose to gather bananas or catch fish. When he chooses to gather one banana, he gives up one fish. In essence, Bob trades with himself. He can use that time to gather bananas or trade that time to catch fish, and the cost of that trade is one fish per banana. That's Bob's opportunity cost. The same holds true for Ann, but her cost of producing one banana is 3 fish. In the amount of time that it takes Ann to gather one banana, she could have caught 3 fish. She trades with herself 1 banana for 3 fish. So Bob only has to give up 1 fish to produce 1 banana, but Ann must give up 3 fish to produce 1 banana. Ann's opportunity cost of gathering a banana is higher than Bob's. If Ann and Bob are allowed to trade with one another, they may be able to gain from specialization if Ann focuses on catching fish and Bob focuses on gathering bananas. Because our time is valuable, any decision we make has a cost. If we focus our time on tasks we're good at, like Ann and Bob, then we end up in a better position than if we try to do everything ourselves.
So again, I think this particular little example here to me does a really good job of explaining the idea of opportunity cost. So it's what you're giving up to do this other thing, right? And so then you have to decide, is it worth it to do this thing because of what I'm giving up? If I do this thing, I'm not doing that thing. So the opportunity cost is what you're not doing to be doing this other thing. Okay. Nope. All right. So when you're doing marginal analysis or thinking about opportunity cost, so there are, and I've already said this, but I wanted to have this on the slides too. There are monetary costs, meaning and benefits, which are money, and there are non-monetary costs or benefits, which are not money. Okay, so if you're working in a job, you have a monetary benefit, you're getting paid. Your cost of working, though, are relationships and entertainment. You aren't spending time with your friends or family or watching TV or at the movies or whatever, right? So there's a in that case, there's the money is the benefit, and there's a non-monetary cost. There could also be a non-monetary cost and benefit, or a monetary cost and benefit. So it just depends on what you're talking about here. Okay, but the concepts hold true either way you look at it. All right. Now, I want to kind of talk you through a couple of examples of some types of questions that I'm going to ask on a quiz on this. And these are not obviously the exact ones, but I have some that are like this that are on the quiz for this week. Okay. So it says, and just kind of showing you the kind of process you have to do to think through this. says Lee's company of 9 workers produced 150 units of a product with a marginal cost of $10 for the last unit. All right, so the product sells for $12 per unit. So he's making, right? He's making $2 per unit he sells. Okay. Now, if he adds one more worker, the marginal cost would be $13. Now, what we notice here is, wait a second, he's only making $12 per unit he sells. So if he's paying his worker $13, he's losing money, right? So if he's losing money by hiring somebody else, is he going to hire somebody else? No, of course not. So then what we would think there is he's going to keep his workers at 9, because by going up in the number of workers, he's actually not going to make money at all. Okay. So that's how you would think about that one. Okay. And y'all let me know if you got questions on this, or if you are watching this and you're like, I need some more practice on these. Y'all let me know. You can send me messages and I can probably come up with some more examples of this kind of stuff. All right. Okay, stop. I need to go to the next slide. Click. Okay, there we go. All right, now this one we have a pizza restaurant sells slices of pizza for $2.50 each, and an entire pizza with 8 slices for $16. All right, a student buys and eats 3 slices of pizza, but decides not to buy the 4th slice because he is already full. How do you explain the student's decision in terms of marginal cost and benefit? So I want you to notice here that the explanation for this one is not a monetary explanation. It's not about the money. It's about something else. It's about the fact that he's already full. So why would he spend more money on pizza that he doesn't want? Okay. So the answer for that one, well, the marginal cost is too high because the price per slice would have been lower by buying a full pizza. Well, that is true, but he doesn't want more pizza, so it doesn't matter. Okay. The marginal benefit of a 4th slice is high because he could share it with a friend. No, that's completely doesn't even make sense. The third one, the marginal cost of $2.50 is not worth the marginal benefit since he's already full. That's correct. So being miserable of eating more pizza means it's not worth it at all. And then this one's also wrong because no, in this case, the cost is way higher than the benefit. Okay. So that's the third one. All right. And then I think I got maybe one more here. If I remember right. Yep, I do. All right. So this one is a little more complex. And I know I have one that's similar to this on our quiz this week. All right. So on some questions, you have to calculate some stuff to get your answer. All right. This is a high school version, not a college version. So it's not going to be super complicated calculations. All right. So here's the example. The board of directors at a manufacturing plant wants to reduce energy costs at their manufacturing facility. So they've directed the plant manager to come up with a plan which saves the most money over a 10-year period. So which of the options listed in the table should the manager choose when considering marginal costs and benefits? Okay. So what we're looking at is what's going to save them the most money. Okay. So we're talking about 10 years here. Okay. So for example, with option A, cost savings per year for 10 years. So you do this times 10, and that's going to save $5 million. Okay. Now, since it cost them $7 million to install, that means they would lose on that one. No good. Do not want that one. They would lose $2 million. All right. On the second one, 10-year period, it saves them $1 million per year for 10 years. Well, that's going to save them $10 million, which is exactly what it cost, which is hopefully not the best option. Okay. All right. Now, the next one is 1.5 million a year for 10 years, which is going to give us 15 million savings, and it's a 12 million cost, meaning that's better than B. So that's a $3 million savings because you take the overall savings minus the installation cost, and that's a positive 3, right? So they're saving 3 million off of that. And then the last one, we have 3 million per year for 10 years is going to be $30 million savings, and it costs them 20 million to install. So that sounds like it costs more, but it actually saves more. Okay. because they actually saved 30 million. So that is a net of 10 million savings. Okay. So let's look at our answer choices. Option A, because initial installation costs are lowest. No, because they actually end up not saving money at all. D, because the total benefit over 10 years is the greatest. All right. Or is it B, because the marginal cost and benefit equal out over 10 years? No, we want to save money over 10 years. Right. C, because the marginal costs aren't as high as option D, but provide significant benefits. No, because what we're looking for is the total benefit over 10 years. So we're wanting to see which one saves them the most money, which is totally option D at 10 million. Okay. So that's kind of, once you understand scarcity and opportunity costs, those are the kind of calculations you have to be able to do. All right. Here it was directly with money. Notice on the previous one, it was not actually all about money. And so sometimes you'll see people putting like number values on your enjoyment of things to kind of weigh them out. I'm not necessarily quizzing you on using those sort of things because those are pretty abstract, but in this case right here, I think it's pretty plain, like you should be able to see that option D is the best option economically according to cost. Okay. All right, and then we got, I think this might be the last one. Let me see. Nope, 2 more. Okay, these are quicker then. It takes you half an hour to do a math assignment and 2 hours to do a microeconomics assignment. What is the opportunity cost? So these are opportunity cost ones of you doing 2 math assignments. Well, if you do 2 math assignments, each one's a half an hour. So that's going to be times 2, right? Okay, so that's times 2. And then it takes 2 hours to do a micro assignment. You do that times 2, right? Both of them times 2, right? 2 math assignments, that would be times 2. So that means it would be 2 hours to do a micro assignment. So if you do 2 math assignments, right, then 2 math assignments will take you 1 hour. All right. And in 1 hour, what would you be doing? Well, it would actually, in this case, you don't need that times 2 because you're thinking about how much micro are you able to do in 1 hour. Okay. So we're looking at 1 hour total. So since that's a 2-hour assignment in the doing 2 math assignments, that's how long it would have taken you to do half of your micro assignment. Okay, because it takes 2 hours to do 1 micro assignment. So 1 hour would be 1/2 of a micro assignment. Okay, so it's kind of some ratio and proportion stuff back from like 6th and 7th grade. Hopefully your 6th and 7th grade math is pretty good because that's kind of what we're working on with here. All right. And then the last one, Jen won a free ride to 4 years of college. During this 4 years, Jen could also do any number of things, including travel the world, work together, savings and career experience, become an expert oboist. That's like a instrument. Which of the following is the opportunity cost of her attending college? Okay, so meaning if she goes to college, what is the thing she's given up? And so what you're looking at is the next best opportunity. Okay, so here, all right, is it A, 0? No, clearly she's giving up something. Is it B, number 2 only? No, because it's not just about money. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get you to get. Is it C, the sum of 1, 2, 3, and any other opportunity she passed up? Or is it D, whichever of 1, 2, 3, or any other opportunity she passed up is most valuable to her? Here's where you got to understand the concept of opportunity cost. It is the cost of the next most valuable thing that you're giving up. All right. So it's not everything that you could have been doing. It's the next most valuable one to you. So it's the, valuing of if I'm doing this, I'm not doing that. That is your opportunity cost, is the one you chose not to do. It's not anything you could have done. It's the at the top of the, well, if I do this, I'm not doing this. Example for you, your opportunity cost of being at econ today was not being asleep or something, right? And so the thing that you would have chosen to do if you chose to skip econ, that was the opportunity cost. Okay. And then somebody who chooses to not study their econ, all right, then that's whatever they chose to do. The cost of their opportunity cost for econ might be something like their grades. Okay. So just understand the opportunity cost is the most valuable thing that you give up. The next best option, that's your opportunity cost. Okay. Okay. So in closing, all right, for Friday's assessment, that's some of the types of questions you'll need to be able to answer. And then there will also be an application of these terms in which you have to describe what it means in a particular situation. And there are a few multiple choice that apply the definitions and the concepts. All right. So for Monday and Tuesday's lessons, you have a short video and a response and some questions I'm expecting in complete sentences. There's the Edminum and tutorial on scarcity, right, and the mastery quiz. All right. And then basically we'll come back on Wednesday. We'll talk about economic types. There'll be a couple more videos on Thursday, and I'll talk you through on Wednesday some more things I'm expecting you to be able to do for the quiz on Friday. And so hopefully you're kind of getting an idea of what's expected for this class. Economics is a challenging subject and does require a good bit of work in order to really show mastery of it, considering we have basically 9 weeks. Okay, remember these are semester classes in terms of government and econ, right? And so I'm having to get basically a semester in 9 weeks, whereas in history class you have the full semester, which is a year class. Okay, so you just got to consider that's the work that you're expecting here. All right, so you'll get started on that work. Let me know what questions you have. Obviously, you're going to need to make sure you're logged into Edminum. I put instructions for that. If you need help with that, you certainly let me know them. All right. Otherwise, I think that is it. And I will see y'all on Wednesday.